time, smell good, and unclogged drains for $99.
Call us. 1-800-446-MIKE.
Contractor license number 399170.
Nothing gets past us. We are on it.
KFI AM 640. KFI AM 640.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County. Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
In Chino, we have a full freeway closure. 60 eastbound from Central to Mountain Avenue. All lanes are going to be off limits until 6. Sun Valley, we have good news. Earlier crash that was on the 170 southbound at Sheldon Street has been cleared from lanes. Your drive is up to full speed in that area. Mountain Valley, there's another full freeway closure. This is on the 405 northbound from Brookhurst to Warner Avenue. All lanes are going to be shut down for road work until 5. Your drive is being diverted off onto Brookhurst. KFI and the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Brian Van.
Want the best possible price on your next car? Download the Roto app. That's R-O-D-O. Roto lets you browse thousands of vehicles from local dealers right from your phone and even offers contact-free delivery. And with Roto, there's never any haggling. The price you see is pre-negotiated and already includes every available discount. There's no hidden fees and no surprises. Just 100% transparent pricing. So for an easy car buying experience, download the Roto app now or check out roto.com. That's R-O-T-O.com.
The Delta variant is making COVID-19 spread faster and more easily. Variants can be more contagious, aggressive, and deadly. But we know vaccines work. Vaccinated Californians have greater protection against serious illness, hospitalization, and death. We can help stop the spread and end this pandemic. Get vaccinated and wear a mask when it can protect you and others. Find a vaccine near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Amazon Delivery Service Partners are hiring full-time delivery drivers to meet growing customer demand. Earn at least $19.50 per hour at select stations, plus benefits and a sign-on bonus of $2,000 for participating DSPs. If you apply now, apply today at www.amazon.com/driver. That's www.amazon.com/driver. No delivery experience required. Terms apply. Hourly rate includes a limited time incentive for working full-time between October 17th to December 25th, 2021.
I'm celebrating National Beer Day by trying all the craft beers at Good Times Cafe, and of course all the Walt Brewskis too. Staying the night, they're doing it again. And now, the top 5 reasons to visit Morongo. Number 5.
You're a ball fan, and we've got all the ball games on baller-sized TVs everywhere you eat, stay, and play.
Number 4.
It's National Pasta Day at Good Times Cafe. Cajun chicken, Alfredo, or spaghetti and meatballs for a special price, October 17th.
3.
Into the Woods giveaway. Get a room and 2-person dome tent when you earn 500 points on your reward card, the 18th or 19th.
Number 2.
Entertainment is back. Robin 6, live November 13th. Get your tickets now.
And the number 1 reason.
Good times and Sideline Stage never stop. Live music all weekend, every weekend.
Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Morongo. Good times.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions, and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
And AMCO offers payment plan options for almost any credit situation, so it's easier than ever to fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
iHeartMedia would like to congratulate Nick Tran at TikTok as one of the world's most influential CMOs according to Forbes. Innovation is at the heart of marketing, and we're proud to partner with the team at TikTok to bring innovative messaging to the world of audio.
KFI AM 640. KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk.
If I awoke to find a man dressed like a pirate in my house while holding a small dog, I think that'd be pretty damn cool. Who doesn't like pirates?
I don't know anybody who likes surprise pirates. A surprise pirate standing over you while you wake up from a nap is not a great idea.
Surprise!
Gary and Shannon. Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI.
There's a lid for every pot. For every single person, there is a person.
Really?
There's only 7 billion of us. You mean you can't pair off with somebody? Or even find a polyamorous thing? Maybe you get 4 or 5 other people in the whole deal?
Taught us, sometimes there's 2 lids.
Gary and Shannon.
To your pot.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. KFI.
And we're going to give Shannon, an alcohol test.
No, we're not.
Gary and Shannon will
We're going to give
continue.
you an emotions test if that's the lane we're driving in. Find out where those are hiding.
Behind your bottle of Chardonnay.
Ouch. Sharpest knives.
Gary and Shannon.
Sharpest knives what?
We save the sharpest knives.
Oh, that's right.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI.
Nobody's clean.
Nobody's clean in any of this.
Yeah. Well, if nobody's clean, then nobody's dirty, right?
Like when Syndrome said in The Incredibles, if everyone's super, then no one is.
Gary and Shannon.
Exactly.
Right.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI.
There's a movement rebelling against the extinction of our species. There's more of us than ever. In fact, there's too many people. Oh my God, the traffic I was in today, I was yelling extinction out my window. We could use a good extinction.
John and Ken. Weekdays 2 to 6 on KFI.
The tweet covers about 50% of the Trump coverage. He's created it then because of his tweets. He wants the attention even if it's negative. That's why he's the craziest to operate. You don't have to pretend. They never had a president do this before, so they have to. We never had these. We didn't used to have cable. You're asking for the impossible.
John and Ken. Weekdays 2 to 6 on KFI.
The problem is, the expectation I have for my governor is that he worries about simple things. There's a couple of very simple things that you can do to keep California great.
You have to walk before you run, Gav.
Gary and Shannon. Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KFI. KFI. AM 640. More stimulating talk. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie.
Up next, American Cryptids in pursuit of the elusive creatures. Two special guests, Kenny Irish and Stacy Brown. For the first half of this hour, Kenny Irish will be with us, then Stacy joins us, and then both of them will join us for phone calls next hour here on Coast to Coast AM. Talking to Dr. Earl Mendel, you get hungry listening to him talking about cooking up great food, and you can do that with HelloFresh. Tom, you love it, don't you?
That's funny you said that. I was just thinking about, for some reason,
when he was mentioning food.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hungry, and yeah, that's good. Listen, that food is so easy to prepare. It's so good, and I don't have a lot of time myself, so it really just helps me.
And what HelloFresh is, it delivers pre-portioned ingredients right to your doorstep, giving you a head start on meals and freeing up the rest of your evening to do what you need to do. And since it's 30% cheaper than the grocery store, HelloFresh gives you both a trip and $1 and saves you all kinds of things. HelloFresh, farm producing. There's always ways to 50 changing weekly menu items, which are fantastic, and the recipes are just perfect too. Delicious recipes like melty Monterey Jack burgers, crispy maple mustard chicken that are a hit for parents and kids alike. And this fall you can look into the mini pumpkin cheesecake too, and the pecan biscuit bake, and other seasonal goodies. Just go to HelloFresh.com/George14. Use code George14 when you're there to get up to 14 free meals and free shipping. That's code George14 at HelloFresh.com/George14.
Is
your current home loan the right fit for you? Their historic low rates may be a great reason to refinance, but when matched with an expertly chosen loan from Loan Depot, you could be saving money and paying more towards the bottom line. Call a Loan Depot loan officer and ask about our 27-year Smart Term loan or our 10-year ARM loan. Get a great rate matched with a great loan by calling 866-888-LOAN or visit LoanDepot.com. At Loan Depot, home means everything. Rates are subject to change. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing opportunity. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Sometimes the world can seem a cold place, so we gotta bring the warmth to it. Sometimes the world can seem a broken place, so we gotta strive to fix it. At the end of the day, we are empowered to create the world we want to live in. So we prepare for the worst, but we must always, always expect the best. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans.
And welcome back to Coast. George Noy with you. Like I mentioned, we have two special guests for you. Our first is Kenny Irish back with us, also known as KW, author, musician, marketing professional with a lifelong love of monsters, UFO stories, writing and public speaking at writers groups and various other platforms across the country. He continues his journey focusing on both fiction and nonfiction. KW is also a researcher for the New York Bigfoot Society, co-host of the NYBS radio show as well. Kenny, welcome back. How are you?
I'm fantastic, George. Thanks for having me back on. It's always a pleasure.
How did you get interested in cryptids?
Oh boy, I just I grew up in northern Vermont and right next to Lake Champlain, and I just loved Godzilla and King Kong and monsters like that. I was about four or 5 years old, right around that age range, when one of them, somebody, I think it was like my aunt's friend or something, said, you know, Godzilla lives in Lake Champlain, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? And then that's when I first heard about Champ, the Lake Champlain monster, and hooked. I was hooked from there on. And so right around 4 or 5 years old was when I really, really got hooked and just dragged into the craziness of cryptids.
I got the bug from the Loch Ness Monster when I was a kid and the abominable snowman in the Himalayas. I did not know that much about Sasquatch until years later when I realized there's another creature here like the abominable snowman who has brown hair instead of white hair. And then I got hooked on that too.
Yeah, it was funny because I'd heard of Sasquatch, growing up, but my understanding was there was one, and it was just running around all over the world. Other than that, I never really heard a whole lot about it. And then my senior year in high school, one of the classes I was taking, it was called Gothic Tales, and they ended up doing a segment on monsters, on cryptids, and that's when they played like the Patterson-Gimlin footage and everything, and that's when I started looking into it more and more, because for me it was always just kind of like the whole Champ thing, where there's just one in Lake Champlain. I never really looked further than that. I heard different stories, but it wasn't until I was probably 17 or 18 before I really started diving into Sasquatch.
You have sent us a video that we've got posted at coasttocoastam.com right under your name and Stacy's name of some basically heat-censored video of what could be a Bigfoot, and you've got to really stare at it for a while and just watch it through its whole length. It's not that long, but you will see a creature that looks like Bigfoot in shadow form going by. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I came on the show with you, one of the questions you asked was, what's the best evidence you've ever seen? And I remember, that's why even to this day, it's that thermal image. But I'm gonna, Stacy's the one that got that footage with his dad, so I don't want to go too much in it and ruin it.
Since you've been doing this, what is your take on Sasquatch? What do you think this creature is?
Boy, I'll tell you, if you asked me a year ago, I'd tell you something different than I'll tell you now. It seems like the more I get deeper into it, the less I understand, and it's, you know, there's so many reasons why it could be flesh and blood, and there's so many reasons why it could be extraterrestrial, and even potentially interdimensional. You know, I never thought I'd actually hear myself saying that, but I've gotten to a point where I've talked to so many credible people that it's just, I can't stand the flesh and blood side as much as I used to. I'm like 50% flesh and blood now, where before I was probably 95%. So it really comes down to, you know, a lot of the folks who I've talked to, and the more that I dive into it. Plus, the other thing is, I don't want to draw a line in the sand and say I stand on one side of it. Because as somebody who researches the phenomenon, I feel like I'm kind of like doing the subject a disservice, as well as not really being a researcher if I already have my mind made up on what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. It really does. And besides talking to people about this, what is kind of pushing you in that direction, that it's possible interdimensional or ET?
Well, in the back of my mind, I've always considered it to be extraterrestrial, because extraterrestrial can be flesh and blood. But I'd say it's just a lot of the reading that I've done as well. Again, when I kind of started to step away from the, you know, hey, it's 95% flesh and blood, when I started stepping away from that and kind of looking into other publications, other documentation, and reading it, and then, you know, the people that wrote it, you know, following up with those individuals, you know, researching them to find out kind of where they come from and what they're all about. Because sometimes, you know, to be honest with you, what I found is sometimes when you research the individual that's made the claim, you can kind of find out
sometimes
which direction. Yeah. So, and, you know, I've come across some very, very, you know, credible people that really had no reason to even say what they were saying, and you know, how they were living their lives. So, you know, it's really kind of pushed me kind of in an area I was kind of concerned about going into, because when you feel like you've kind of got a handle on it, it's kind of okay to move forward with it, but then it's one of those subjects that the second you feel like you've got an answer, now you've got 10 questions, you know, added on top of that answer. But that's also what keeps me going in this, is I love the mystery. I embrace the mystery of it, the legend of it, and it's, you know, for some people it's a matter of, you know, seeing one and being able to, you know, for some people even communicate with them. For me, it's really the legend behind it and the mystery behind it that's really intrigues me.
Kenny, would you say that George Lucas's Star Wars, that Chewbacca looks exactly like a Bigfoot?
Yeah, you know, it's funny, because I remember when I was talking with somebody who they had mentioned that they had an encounter with an extraterrestrial themselves. They had mentioned that Sasquatch could very well be extraterrestrial, based off of Star Wars. I mean, I'd never even put that together. I'd never even thought about it until they had said that. They're like, you know, of course they're extraterrestrial. Look at Chewbacca. They're like, doesn't he look like a Bigfoot? And it was just, my mind was kind of like blown. It was one of those moments where I'm just like, you know, I never even put that together. But yeah, I mean, Chewbacca looks just like what, you know, most people claim to see. It's the same thing with, like, you know, like, for instance, like Dogman. Some folks say that they believe Dogman is extraterrestrial, which, you know, I guess it very well could be.
Does anybody ever associate craft in the vicinity with Sasquatch?
Associate what? I'm sorry?
Craft, a flying saucer in the vicinity.
Oh yeah. That's a lot of the time. There's a report of some type of craft that's in the in the sky, some type of extraterrestrial looking, if you will, spacecraft in the distance. Some folks have actually claimed that they've seen some actually come down onto the ground and seen a Sasquatch actually walk up a ramp and go inside of one. So there have been reports of that.
Tell me your research program. How do you go out and search for this creature?
Well, the first thing that we do with the group that I'm with, the New York Bigfoot Society, is first and foremost that our main objective is to come out alive. So
that would be good.
First and foremost, we make sure that everybody is trained to above the basics of surviving in the woods and having what they need on with them. Where a lot of folks, I've seen in the past have just kind of like gone out in the woods, with like a couple snacks and some water, and that's it. So our first approach is just to make sure, we've got everything that we need. And then, like many groups, we try to collect data, but with the data that we collect and the information that we collect from our findings, the only thing that we will bring back will be something that we can't explain away. The other method that we use is we use a lot of animal behavior in the woods, because animals in the woods will tell you a lot about what's happening in that time frame. For instance, we put up trail cams before, and we put food out, and for 2 weeks nothing touched the food. It just sat there. And then we left the trail cams up, and 2 weeks later we came back, and all the food's gone. There's animals on the picture. So we also try to follow animal behavior and try to find patterns within them being present and when they're leaving, because obviously there's something there that's an alpha predator that's making them stay inside and not want to come out. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a Bigfoot, it's a Sasquatch, it's a Dogman, or anything like that. It could just be a bear. But it still gives us an idea of when to go back into the woods, look for different patterns, and try to see, if there's anything to those patterns and why those animals would be hiding and what they would be hiding from.
How many books do you have out now, Kenny?
Right now, I have 3 are out. So I've got one called Stanley Riker and the Bigfoot Runaround. That was released in 2020 through Dark Moon Press. Mm-hmm. That is actually a young reader's chapter book. It's about 3 friends that go to a camp for the weekend, and the camp counselor tells them that, hey, there's been some Bigfoot sightings in the area, and due to that, they could potentially have to close the camp down. So the 3 third-grade young friends, they just go out on a mission to try to come up with, proof of the Bigfoot and capture it and save their camp. So that was in 2020, and then American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures released this year in March, and has done phenomenal. It hit number 1 as a bestseller twice on Amazon, and it just covers all 50 states. Basically, each chapter starts out with some history on the state, and then goes into like Native American lore and how the Native Americans in that state live, and then it goes into like whatever the popular cryptid is of that state. Like for instance, if it's West Virginia, it's the Mothman, and then each chapter closes out with a Bigfoot sighting that I was able to obtain from the state, and so it covers all 50 states in that manner.
Why do you think science is not pursuing this? You would think they'd be all over this story.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they're not allowed to yet. It's just a little over a year ago that it's UFOs are now being considered as realistic, where before it was just it was weather balloons, and now the government's saying that UFOs exist. So I don't know. I have to think that maybe they're not allowed to pursue it at this point. I don't know.
Is that what your gut tells you?
A little bit. To a degree, I think, you know, there's more going on than, let's say, and I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but at the same time, in this subject, I have to think a little that way. I do believe that, you know, there is something going on, and the government does know about it, and I think at some point in time, they're going to be able to possibly allow science to actually say that, you know, this phenomenon is real.
We don't hear anything negative about Sasquatch or Bigfoot. We don't hear anything in terms of them attacking people, killing people. I don't hear that. Do you?
No. The only, I mean, I've heard, you know, some encounters, but they're normally trying to get away. It's normally not a, you know, like any type of violent act. Again, I have come across some. I do have some in my book, but for the most part, they're usually, you know, trying to kind of get away or get out of the area. The majority of when I hear of any type of encounter being violent, it's usually like